All right, ladies and gentlemen, Zapman here to bring you the long-anticipated, long-awaited Hunter build guide. Now, I get so many questions about builds, why I built this, why I built that. Is this no longer good? Is that good? What's the best? What's going on? Who the hell knows? I don't know. No, I do know, and I'm going to try to give you the best information that I can. Now, let me preface this by saying that the SPL competitive meta is 100% different and opposite of the ranked meta. To make this clear, the competitive meta, the Hunter player starts alone from wave 1, gets all the solo farm, solos buffs, gets about 3 levels ahead of everyone else, and that also affects the starting build for the SPL player. And in ranked, there is a traditional duo lane, 2 people starting in lane, 2 people sharing buffs, 2 people splitting waves. When junglers come, it's 3 people splitting waves. Hunters get really behind. Hunters have no farm, and that also affects the builds in the beginning of the game slightly. Now, some things from the SPL have trickled down to ranked in terms of builds, and there's not really a good reason why. It's just that people want to, play similarly to how they do in the SPL. And regardless of all that, with that being said, I'm going to try to explain the starting builds, which I believe is the most questioned thing about Hunter builds right now, and let's get right into it. So, first things first, there are 2 types of Hunter gods. There are auto attack based Hunter gods that maybe only have 1 or 2 damaging abilities, and then there are ability based Hunter gods which have more than 2 damaging based abilities. Now, example of each is Rama is a perfect example of an auto attack based Hunter, and Uller is a perfect example of an ability based Hunter. Now we'll start off with the auto attack based Hunter. Let's go ahead and click Rama here just for consistency's sake, and let's go to the God Builder. Now, if you are a auto attack based Hunter, there's no question you always want to start Hunter's Blessing. Let's build that. Now, here's where the questions come. A lot of people on my stream, they see me build boots first, and they always ask why. Boots offer no stats, just like 5% movement speed. And the reason is because that's what I start with in the SPL. Now, why do I start boots in the SPL? Like I said before, it is a 1v1 matchup. I get all the farm. I do a lot of solo buffs. And when there's a Hunter versus a Hunter in the long lane, the kill potential is 0. Or almost 0. You have to be like bad to die like in the first 5 levels of the game. Okay? So that is why everyone starts boots, because they don't need to quote unquote win the lane. They don't need to quote unquote pressure the other guy, because you're not really going to solo invade. One more thing to add is that in that start, usually junglers do the speed to the red, so they're in duo lane right away. So there's no point in me getting pressure to invade their purple, because the jungler's already there at red and about to do the purple as well. So pressure in terms of trying to dominate the lane gets you nowhere. So the best thing to do is to efficiently build your power spikes, get the best item in terms of efficiency, which allows you to farm better, which are boots, because boots are cheap. They give you a lot of physical power or attack speed, and the most important thing is they give you the movement speed that you need to move around the map, so you can farm those buffs, you can farm those back harpies, and get ahead of the other Hunter in that way. So that is why in SPL, the Hunter players start boots 1. Now in ranked, because there's a dual lane, these things are a bit different, and you used to never see boots 1 start, but all of a sudden you're seeing it now, and you're wondering why this, why that. Now the answer is there is no real reason. you can still play to dominate the dual lane in ranked, because the jungler in ranked, he starts speed, he goes to backs, and then he goes to blue buff. And remember, in SPL, the jungler goes speed to red to purple. But in ranked, he goes speed to back harpies to blue buff. That means there's a window of opportunity to get pressure in the dual lane and to look for kills and to invade purple. So in actuality, starting boots is not really the most optimal play to do in that dual lane, because you're not taking advantage of opportunities that are presented. So I guess to also add on to that, I'll say that there's maybe two ways to play the dual lane in ranked. You can play to try to be opportunistic and dominate the lane, get the purple buff, maybe look for kills, or you could play a safer way and just farm and do your own buffs, and that's it. So with that being said, if you want to be aggressive, then you don't want to build boots 1 first. If you want to be aggressive, you want to take advantage of a dominant lane, Uller Erlang, Rama Sylvanas, that's very high clearing lane, very dominant, then you might actually want to consider doing the old builds and going Devos 1, because Devo 1 gives you 5 physical power and 7% lifesteal, which is about 3 or 4 health per auto. And thinking about how many autos you do, you probably would get maybe 1,000 effective health before you actually back. So doing this build, if you're looking to be aggressive and make plays and win lane, is a 100% viable. Okay, I want everyone to know that it is 100% viable and it's good. So do not ignore this kind of build. Now, if you want to follow what the pros do, or you just like boots better, that's fair too. I myself have been going boots a lot, even in ranked, because 1, it's just a force of habit, and 2, I kind of like it better for me personally, because in ranked I get camped a lot, and honestly being aggressive in the early game is kind of a trap for me. I always get ganked. So like if I go for the purple, all of a sudden the jungle in the mid comes and I die and I rage quit and all that kind of stuff. I don't rage quit, but I rage and all that kind of stuff. So me actually starting boots is kind of like a gatekeeper for me. Whereas like I myself, my mentality changes. I'm like, okay, I build boots. I can't be really too aggressive. I don't have any power. I don't have any sustain. So I'm just going to push the wave, do my own purple, push the wave, maybe do backs or oracles, push the wave. And oh, guess what? I finished my boots. I can back. And then I finished boots 3, and then maybe I can look to be aggressive or things like that. So now you should understand why people go boots first, and you can understand why still going Devos 1 is still a good and effective way to play the game. So now you understand the 2 play styles. You understand jungle's positioning, which also affects what hunters build and how they play the early game. So now with that being said, we can go over the overall build. Whether you start Devos or boots, it doesn't change the first 2 items. You either go boots 3, Devo gloves, or you go Devo gloves, boots 3. It doesn't really matter. So I'm just gonna go with the build of boots first. Now, another top question. It's funny because a lot of the questions are in there about the early game builds. Another question is, Zap, why do you go power boots, or why do you go attack speed boots? Now there's a couple of answers to these, and man, it's like there's no real cut and dry answer. A lot of it is preference. A lot of it is maybe what you want to do. But I think the short answer is this: if you want to try to dominate the lane, or you want to try to go for solo kills, I definitely recommend going power boots. Power boots gives you a huge power spike in physical power. For example, with Rama, when you finish power boots and you're level 5, you actually have so much kill potential on the other hunter, because your autos hit for like 120 with the one activated, and it's literally like 4 autos, and then you ult and you can actually kill the guy. So I would say if you want to go for kill potential, you want to elevate your kill potential, go power boots. Now if you're just looking to scale and be a beast in the mid to late game, I would recommend going attack speed boots. That is the short and simple and general answer. Sure, there's maybe other more specific reasons, but you don't really need to know that. It doesn't really matter too much. The general reason is if you want more kill potential, you want a bit more firepower in the early game, go power boots. If you want to scale, be a beast mid late game, go attack speed boots. The simple answer that everyone can follow. Now, after we're done with boots, let's say we're going attack speed boots here. The next item is 100% your stacking item. And that is always going to be Devourer's Gloves. Devourer's Gloves is the best lifesteal plus physical power item in the game. I personally wish hunters had more lifesteal options, especially in the early game. Bloodforge is very garbage in terms of lifesteal, good on power, bad on lifesteal. Devourer's Gloves is a mix of both, and it's just a great item. And then Aussie is way too expensive, gives no fizz power, which is what you need in the early game. Has the pen, which is nice, but again, Devourer's Gloves outclasses it overall in the early game. Build that. Now, the third item slot is kind of like your luxury slot. It's kind of like the item slot that you want to build a cost-efficient item because it's too early to go pen, right? No one has protections at this point. No one, you know, has 2 prod items or anything like that yet. This is where hunters want to go their cost-efficient item. Now, that used to be Ichabod until it got changed. Now it's even no longer a hunter item, in my opinion. It used to be maybe Aussie for double lifesteal, but now they made that more expensive, so that has changed. So now what's the options left? The options left are the bow tree. The bow tree. And right now, the only good item in terms of cost effectiveness that has a good passive is Oboe. Okay. Silver Branch Bro, you don't take advantage of the passive, so you just take advantage of the stats, which is good. The stats are good, but again, the passive is worthless. So it's not really a cost-effective item in that sense because the passive is not good. Atlanta's Bow just doesn't do enough. Again, the passive doesn't really help you that much. I hope these 2 items get a little bit of rework so we actually have more options as a hunter player. Right now, hunter players are the only class that doesn't have a kind of like a movement speed item that they can go, or a hybrid item that they can go. And that is why, honestly, they're outclassed by mage ADCs. And why you see so much Jingwei or Hachiman is because they have the ults to escape. Whereas I think if there's more movement speed options for hunters, you might see more hunters. You might see more Artemises. You might see more Scotties because they feel a bit more safe because they have a lot of movement speed to escape and to move around the map, which is a big deal. So again, with all that being said, Oboe is the option. That is why you see Oboe third. Now, Oboe has gotten a base 15 damage nerf. It affects the early game, doesn't really affect the late game. Doesn't really affect the item too much in terms of its value. I would 100% recommend still going Oboe third because honestly, you have no other option, right? You have no other option third. Oboe is the only cost-efficient item that's good. And now after that, the build is very simple. It almost doesn't ever change. You pretty much go Executioner because you have to go your pen item fourth. You execute. Oboe, Executioner, and then Chin Size. Exi and Chin Size are literally like, you know, bread and butter. You got to put them together. After that, you want to go into your Titan's Bane. Even if they don't have too many procs, you still want to go Titan's Bane because it augments your yellow damage. Yellow damage being your Oboe and Chin Size. Humongous power spike. Do not neglect Chin Size. So let's sell Hunter's Blessing, put Oboe in there. And now the option for your build is another lifesteal item for the most part. I would say you sell boots. You either want to go Aussie or Bloodforge. If you went attack speed boots, you might want to go Aussie because you like the attack speed. If you went power boots, you might want to go Bloodforge because you liked the playstyle of more fizz power. So yeah, I'll just put them both down here. You might want to go Aussie. You might want to go Bloodforge. In some rare cases, maybe you want to go Mantle if you're getting heavily dove. That's always a decent option. But as far as just, you know, a good last item, getting a double lifesteal item is probably the best. So now this is the general attack speed pen build. Very strong build. Love building this myself. It's a lot of fun. Okay, now let's go to the other side of the coin, crit. Crit is very good. The early part of the build is the same. You want to go Hunter's Blessing, build. You want to go attack speed boots or power boots, depending on what I said earlier, whether you want to be more aggressive or a bit more passive scaling late game. Now, I think in general, a lot of players like to go attack speed boots when they go crit. But again, it doesn't really matter too much. I personally go power boots because I still like to dominate the early game, even if I'm going crit. If it becomes a big deal later, maybe I'll sell the boots for attack speed boots, but honestly, it doesn't really make a difference. So let's go attack speed boots here for the sake of consistency. Then we build Devourer's Gloves. And now, third item, because you're going crit, you actually are not going to be going oboe, so what do? The answer is simple. You go Rage, the best crit item in the game. Rage is by far amazing. It gives you flat 30% crit with the chance to go to 40% fully stacked. Amazing item. I'm surprised we have a good of an item as this. After that, again, fourth item, it becomes simple. You start noticing a pattern. Fourth item is Penetration. Executioner. Boom. Build. Now, after that, you are extremely strong right now. When you build Rage and Executioner, you should think of yourself as a big boy. Okay? You're really strong right now. Basically, at 4 items, Hunters are, like, that's a big power spike. Look to be aggressive, look to make plays. After that, it's, I think, very intuitive. You go into Deathbringer, augments your crits, gives you 25% crit chance. And now, these are the only crit items you need. The Wind Demon and the Poison Star are garbage. Do not build them. They are a waste of your coins. Just build Rage, Deathbringer. To put into perspective, Rage fully stacked with Deathbringer is 65% crit. That is more than what triple crit was back in the day in the earlier seasons, where people used to go triple crit and they used to think they were, big D. Now you have 65% crit with just 2 items. That's all you need. Don't go the shuriken items, waste of your money. Now, you're extremely strong right now. What I like to do after this is go Titan's Bane for the really humongous. If you go Titan's Bane, you start seeing like 800 crits, 1,000 crit, maybe if you have like red pot and red buff. But yeah, pretty much you want to go Titan's Bane here. Where is that pesky item? Titan's Bane, build, and voila, you are a fucking force to be reckoned with. This build is amazing. It's extremely strong. Now, if you want to sell boots, I recommend going Aussie with crit, because you're definitely not at attack speed cap, even with an attack speed Servoid. So I recommend going Aussie here. If you want more damage, you can go Oboe, because you already have Titan's Bane. Oboe becomes an extremely effective item, and again, it's one of the best, actually, it is the best team fight DPSing item in the game. So you can sell your boots for Oboe, you can sell your boots for Aussie. One of those two, both are good. We'll add them both here for the sake of showing you guys the options. And this is your crit build. You don't need any other crit build. This is the crit build. That's it. Now, I get a question of, Zap, when do you decide to go crit? And the honest to God answer is that it is probably always good to go crit. Doesn't matter if they have Thorns. Doesn't matter if they have Nemean. Crit is the most powerful build probably in the game for single target damage. A lot of warriors now, a lot of junglers, they go these hybrid items. They don't really have too many protections. They have maybe I don't know, low 200s or high 100s. And throughout the game, like when you're on your 4-item power spike, they probably only have 1 defensive item. You will literally melt these tanks if you go the crit build. So I'd say it's always good to go crit, right? There is no cut or dry, black and white answer. Do I go pen attack speed? Do I go crit? It is 100% your preference. Okay, you might feel more comfortable going crit if there's less tanks, less frontline, more backline. You might feel a bit more comfortable doing that. More frontline, you might think Oboe's better. It can be. You might want to use that maybe as your rule of thumb, like, oh, they have 2 frontliners, I'll go crit. They have 3 frontliners, oh, I'll go pen attack speed. But to say that the pen build's better because people are tankier is not true. Crit does the most damage. Crit does the most DPS, single target DPS in the game. So it's 100% your preference. Some games I feel like critting big. Some games I like having more attack speed and seeing my oboe going. You know what I mean? Really, it's up to you. Have fun with it. Mix around with it. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. You know, so save these builds. These are the 2 builds you need in your life for auto attack based hunters. Now let's move on. Let's go to the ability based hunters. My favorite. Let's go to Uller. Now these builds are interesting. There's actually 2 builds that I like to go, and let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Now, I think it's always good to go Mage's Blessing because it is a lot more damage in general than just going Trans 2 in lane. It gives you the mana sustain. It gives you the CDR when it's fully stacked, which is an amazing statistic for ability-based hunters. So I always recommend going Mage's Blessing, and then you want to go Morningstar 1. Now, you don't really want to go Boots because the whole point of going ability-based hunter is to dominate, right? When you go this God, you want your support to be aggressive. You want your jungler to be like, hey, we're going to invade purple red. You better be there. You know what I mean? So you don't get effed by their jungler coming over. Bottom line is you want to be aggressive when you play ability-based hunter. You want all the damage early game. You want to snowball. Otherwise, you're going to get outscaled by an auto attack based hunter. So make sure your team knows we're fragging in duo lane. Let's be there. So here's the starting build. You want to build Mage's Blessing. You want to build Morningstar 1. Now from here, you have a couple of options. You can either finish Transcendence or finish Boots. Both are good. Both are fine. I think if you back with 1,400 gold, you finish your Transcendence. If you back with 1,600 gold, you build the Power Boots. Simple as that. Well, I pretty much would be finishing Transcendence, right? Go straight into... Let's build that. Go straight into Power Boots. You don't really want to go attack speed boots because, again, you want your abilities to hurt. You want to snowball the lane. You want to do damage. Power Boots. Boom. Really strong at this point. You want to be using your abilities to poke in lane. You don't want the other hunter that, you know, has low stack Devourer's Gloves to be able to sit in lane comfortably, be able to get his own purple. Otherwise, what the hell are you playing Uller for? Right? Clear the wave. Use your 3 to poke. Get his purple timer. Make sure you have wards around. Make sure your jungler knows that you want to invade, etc., etc. And this is how you have a good game with an ability-based hunter. Now, the third item is up for debate. You could do a lot of things here. I think the third item, you only have room for 1 flat pen item. Okay, I do not recommend going Aussie Crusher, as when people start building 2 prod items, you're going to be doing no damage to them. So, I think here you ask yourself, do I want to go Lifesteal or do I want to go Crusher? Honestly, if you want more kill potential, I'd go Crusher. If you want to kind of take it easy in the mid game a little bit and you want to do a little bit more, you know, scaling of the build towards the late game, I'd go Aussie. So now pretty much, let's, for argument's sake, you want to go Crusher. You're snowballing. You don't want to stop. You don't want to lessen your kill potential. You want to have more kill potential. I'd go Crusher. Now, fourth item, you have to go Executioner. No questions asked. You have to do it. Executioner. He's the best item for a hunter. As the game goes on, your abilities are going to do less damage to the tanks. You're going to rely more on your auto attacks to do the damage and to finish off the frontliners. Have to build this item. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more spicy. I personally think you have a choice here. You could either go the other flat pen item that you didn't go to begin with, because now you can deal with the tanks. You might want to look at the tank's HP. Okay, they don't have too much HP items. You know, I can skip Chin Size here. I'll go for that other flat pen item. Very strong to build this 5th. Like I said, if they don't have too much HP, you could build this 5th. I've done it before. It feels pretty good. Otherwise, if you don't build that 5th, you just build Chin Size. It's one or the other. They're pretty much interchangeable. So you could do it like this, or the other way, the more traditional way, is you pretty much just go Chin Size because, you know, Execution, Chin Size, they go together. You build that, right? And then if you keep following the more traditional build, you would sell your Mage's Blessing and you go Titan's Bane here. Where is it? You go Titan's Bane, and then you'd sell your boots for the Aussie, and then you'd have your finished build. So let's do that here. Aussie, your lifesteal option. Ta-da! And this is pretty much how my build would look like. You know, people might say, oh, what about Bloodforge? I think at this point in the game, your auto attacks are very highly valued, and I think Aussie augments that more. Plus, Aussie will help you do more damage to the squishies as it gives you more flat penetration over Bloodforge, which is just raw fizz power. I don't really like Bloodforge here. It still is an okay item here. I personally recommend going Aussie, though. I think Aussie is an amazing item. You can make a lot of plays when the passive procs. So this is pretty much what my full build would look like. Now, you have some more wiggle room here. You can sell Crusher for Oboe. If you want to go into more auto attack based damage, like, oh, you feel like you're not landing your abilities, you feel like your abilities are doing no damage, I would recommend selling Crusher, going into Oboe, and then just straight up using your auto attacks. Pew, pew, pew. And, you know, you can still use your abilities, you still spam. But again, if you want to rely more on auto attacks, switch the Crusher out for Oboe, and you have an amazing auto attack damage build. Then you might say, oh, sell Transcendence for Bloodforge. But again, I think you still be spamming your abilities. I'll just keep the Transcendence, just sell the Crusher for Odysseus Bow, and you'll have your more auto attack based damage. So this is the build for ability based hunters. There's a lot of wiggle room here. There's a lot of mix and match. You know, Crusher third, no, Aussie third. Okay, Execution has to be fourth, no matter what. Okay, fifth item, I'll get the Crusher I didn't get. I'll get the Aussie I didn't get, because I feel like I'm going to be hitting the squishies a lot more. I feel like the tanks don't have too many prods. I'm still going to be getting a lot of gains from that flat pen. So again, it's up to you. Look at the enemy builds, assess the situation, and then build accordingly. But these are the items you want in your build. That's pretty much it. And right now, ability hunters really aren't the meta, but they're still good. You can still play them. That's pretty much it. So I hope this guide has helped you understand the whys a little bit more, instead of just following a build blindly, not really understanding why. If you watch the beginning of this guide, I feel like I go really in depth of explaining the difference in the meta of the SPL and ranked, why, you know, X build is in SPL and Y build is in ranked, but and how they kind of, you know, integrated themselves. But I really wanted you to understand the whys, because it's important to understand why you're doing something, why you're building something. And then honestly, when there's another patch and there's new items, you probably won't even need to watch this guide anymore, because you understand, oh, this makes sense, and you truly understand the game. That's how you get better. So that's it. I hope this guide helped you guys. I think it was pretty long, but I feel like it's worth watching the whole thing. I explain a lot. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I might actually be doing more YouTube more consistently. And that's it, guys. Have a great day. Take care.